Wellness, beautiful beings. Welcome to my space, my place. This is Rashida Silvertree here, and here we are. Don't worry, I didn't forget about you. I'm still in the middle of settling in, unpacking, packing, cleaning, aside from work, school, and all that other stuff. So I just want to make sure that I stay true to my consistency because that's one of the keys to success, right? Um, so I was reading one of my books, and I have to go grab the book. Uh, it's called Other Worlds Than These. So it's a collection of sci-fi stories, but there was a line in it that really stuck out to me, and I need to go grab it real quick. I just thought of grabbing it, so I'll be right back. Oh, okay. I am back again. Here I am. Okay, there we go. One day, I will have a digital camera. So mics and sound and quality of my video won't even be an issue anymore. But where was that line in the book that just kind of caught my eye, caught my fancy? Ah, human beings can make a mess out of chaos. Human beings can make a mess out of chaos. And it just kind of like stuck with me. You know, it's almost like when I read it, oh, and this is what the book looks like, Other Worlds Than These. I love it. It's one of my favorite books. Oh my god, is that a pimple? Oh, oh man. I don't get too many breakouts. Luckily. Anytime I get it here, hormones. Anyway, that's beside the point. um, yeah, so humans can make a mess out of chaos. If you think about it, or, feel it out, I guess, chaos is the foundation of all things, I think. Nothing comes from order. We make order out of chaos. And sometimes out of that chaos, yes, human beings, we tend to make a mess out of it. Maybe making it worse, overcomplicating our lives. Whatever happened to simplicity? Whatever happened to just taking what we needed when we needed it? In the act of moving, I have I've realized that I've accumulated a lot more in the past, I'd say 4 years, than I have previous to the whole COVID thing. I'm a woman and a person, a human being, a soul in this life that I've always lived in a very simple way. Meaning I just would have the bare minimum. I never ever I've never owned a television. I've never had owned my own bed frame with a mattress and a headboard. Since the age, I will say, of 12 to 13 years old, because throughout my life I would have my own room, then I wouldn't have my own room, then I'd have my own room, then I wouldn't have my own room. Like, it was 3 to 5 kids in my mother's home, and so people grow up, they move back, they to other relatives, life shifts around, and so anytime I had my own space, it was very minimalistic and very monk-like. I had my little tiny twin bed and a simple little table to hold my alarm clock, and just everything was very neat and tidy. Like, no one really lived there, but someone lived in the room, right? And I always just lived with my bags half packed. I don't know why. Um, and given that I don't necessarily stay longer than 2 years in an apartment, and I just moved recently after spending, 11 months in my last apartment, I just, I don't need many things. But I notice in this move how I have kind of a mess, you know? You can't you can't prevent chaos happening. There is chaos and then there's order, right? And when things shift and when you're going through transitions in life, things have to come apart, things have to break down in order for you to move, light with less baggage. You want to move light. You don't want to move with a lot of baggage, with emotional, mental, physical. You don't want to move with a lot of burden. You want to move with ease. That's what I've learned throughout all my years of traveling. The less you have, the more space you have to work with. The more you accumulate and the more you have in your space, the less the more or the less space that you have to work with. So I'm a musician, I'm an artist, I am now a grad student, I work full time as a teacher. There are specific things that I will need in my minimalistic lifestyle. However, I've noticed that it's like moving is a lot. It takes a lot out of anybody in general because you're moving your life, you're moving your lifestyle with you. And I noticed comparing to what my lifestyle was like when I lived in Arizona, when I lived in the desert, with housemates, with roommates, I just would always have the bare minimum. I didn't have a car for years. For years and years and years, I didn't have a vehicle. I just would travel plane, bicycle, walking. I would use like the tram or some kind of system, to get around. Just I don't know. I just used I used my resources and the health of my body to get me where I needed to go. So I didn't accumulate much. Moving, I could move maybe the most trips I'd have to make would at least 2 trips. And now, post, a cohabitation situation I was in for 2 years, it's like when you blend your lifestyle with someone else, you accumulate a lot of energy with that person. It's like if you're feeling stressed out, when you come home, it's double the stress. When you're feeling positive and loving and joyful, it could be double that, right? And that's like the perks of sharing the space with another. But I also know that if it's not going too hot, it can be a real burden on each person. So I choose to live, alone. I like to live alone. I'm used to it by now. When I lived in Arizona, I had less than 5 pair of shoes. I slept on my sleeping bag, which I easily like a mat on the floor. I didn't have furniture. The artwork I had in my home was my own, right? I just kept things very, very minuscule. And I'm not great at decorating. There, I said it. It's a confession. I'm not great at decorating. I'm that minimalist and I'm that simple. Um, and so yeah, I always thought that was pretty weird, always having my bags half packed. I've been in living situations where there was threat of, you know, not seeing eye to eye with a parent of mine way back then, years ago. And so I'm always like, oh gosh, am I gonna get kicked out or am I gonna yeah, I've had some moments in my life where I'm like, oh gosh, where am I gonna live? But I've always been blessed. I've always been protected and guided as far as having a safe place to rest my head at night. I've tried the whole van life on and off during pandemic, and that was an interesting lifestyle. Uh, it's a lifestyle I would rather you. It's best to be prepared, meaning you got to have the moolah. You got to have money. You have to have multiple sources of income. You have to have a backup plan just in case your vehicle crashes out, doesn't work anymore. You're out in the middle of nowhere. You have to have a form of protection. I did van life temporarily in between my lease and traveling to my next destination, and I camped out in the middle of a city, not comfortable, did not feel safe. I van lifed in the middle of a countryside, and waiting for a boarding room to open up because I was doing some volunteer work, and I felt most at peace. I left my van doors wide open as I slept at night. It was beautiful. It was a wonderful experience with that. Like the further out you go out in nature, you just feel more and more and more grounded and more at home, and you feel safe. But what do I mean, right, by all this? Um, I shared a little bit about, my minimalism journey and whatnot, but it's really about simplicity. It's really about being intentional behind the things that you own. There's a woman on here, I don't know her name. She's a little bit older than I am, and this lady literally has like nothing. Nothing. When I say, like, it's almost very minimalist. Like, it's extreme, extreme, extreme. And I I respect that, and it has to do. I think it has to do with something like psychological too. The more full you are within yourself, the less you really need. Right? Back to the belongings I had when I was in Arizona. I was going through a deep monk spiritual phase in my life where I had like six dresses, maybe one pair of overall pants. And plus the weather actually plays a part in that too. When you live out in the desert, it's Arizona, New Mexico, it's like you don't really need a ton of stuff. Well, I was in the high desert in New Mexico, so it when it snowed and it would get really, really cold. But Arizona was just a bit different, and you didn't need to worry about, you know, get, you can get away with wearing sandals all winter if you really, really wanted to. Um, but now I'm in the cold. It's like I have to be very methodical and make sure I don't overspend and overbuy. Because I like to experiment with my clothes and colors and stuff like that from time to time. And I'm just like getting to the point where there's so much going on in my life right now. I like to just simplify it. It's one thing I do miss about living in that time period, in that mind frame I was in. I was so just really focused in on what I was focused on, not so much my appearance and trying to prove to other people, oh, look at me, look at how stylish I can be. I like to be very, very simple. I like to be underwhelming and elegant and classy and a little bit of hippie. Mix that all up together, and then you get me. I don't, I try not to get, I don't want my style to be the number one focus, the focal point of my life. I don't want having things or having the cutest apartment and spending the cutest this and the cutest that. I want to always feel at home within myself first. When I do that, I notice I give away things with ease a lot more. So, with this video, and that sentence that stood out, humans make a mess out of chaos, is like we overcomplicate our lives, our chaotic lives, even more. We dive deeper into it, and it's like either you can alchemize chaos or you can make a mess out of it. I was talking to a colleague of mine, and we were talking about energy work, because we work in a very demanding, mentally and emotionally demanding place where the energy is very dense. You're dealing with young minds, young adolescent minds that are awakening to their sexuality, they're awakening to their emotional stability, they're awakening to their ego. And a lot of the time, what I'm finding, discovering right now with my teaching that age group, education is not in the forefront for many of them. And a lot of the time, they bring in so much energy, so much shit, really, from the outside world into this institution. And so the energy can be very heavy and dense. And now we were both talking about, like, because she's a spiritualist, and and she's there shining her light. And, when you meet another spiritualist, it's like you have to speak in code, because you have to see and figure out how deep they can go down the rabbit hole with you without like losing them, without creeping them out or whatever. But we're on the kind of the same wavelength when it comes to that. And, you know, we got on the subject of like the importance of energy management and maintaining your energy and clearing out your energy. And, the importance of, like, you want to call yourself light worker. I vibe with that title. but it's important. It's really, really imperative that you manage your energy, know where your energy is going, being intentional where your energy is going, how much energy you're eating, or consuming, how much energy you're giving out. It's imperative for this to be a practice. So yeah, I desire to, after this last move, I desire to re-enter into that place of simplicity where I don't have not even a mattress. And when people come over, when they would come over, which would rarely would I ever have someone come over to visit, they would it would be so interesting how people would take my apartment. I swear to God. It was so interesting watching them come in through the door, and they're just kind of like, what? You know, some of them would just be comfortable. Some of them will hide their discomfort. They would get really rigid with their body and not allow their body to naturally flow in open space because I didn't have a place for them to sit. Really, not really. I've always just been very simple, and it's freaked out. I think at least one guy, the last guy I was involved with, and it just that individual needed, his energy was a lot more earthy and dense and grounded, where he needed the flat screen TV, he needed a couch, he needed furniture to feel more anchored into the space. I'm very feng shui, I guess, but I don't. Like, this is it. My laptop's the TV. Okay. Like, it's just, if I can't pack it up, if my clothes can't fit in a suitcase that I can easily travel with, I got too much shit. Excuse my French. I have too much stuff, right? Um, I like candles. I like incense. I mean, well, I kind of slowed up with the incense, but given that my apartment has a foul odor because of the last tenant and it was the only one available, I was in a time crunch. I took it. It looks nice. It's very clean. I mean, it's one of the older ones. Living below my means. I don't need to, I can splurge in a really nice place because I've lived in very nice furnished apartments. But um, I don't. Who am I trying to prove? I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody anymore. Older I get, I'm just like, so who cares? Who cares? I've seen beautiful. One of my best friends, she has a beautiful home. It's gorgeous, very large, right? But I don't know. I admire the beauty in people's spaces, but me personally, like, what would I do with all that space, right? Like, and now that I'm in a much smaller apartment, to be honest, and it's like, oh my gosh, how many trips did I have to make to, how much junk do I have? So I'm going through it. As far as reviewing my minimalistic lifestyle, and kind of seeing where I was 4 years ago. And what's so interesting is when I purchased my car back in 2020, um, just to take off and hit the road, I had no clue where I was going to go. Like, it was an amazing time in my life where I was like, trust, trust, trust. I was trusting, open, ready, prepared, I had money in the bank. I was good, Gucci. And I just was kind of like, anything that didn't fit in my car, I didn't take, you know? Um, I love plants. I love plants. Do I need a lot of them? I don't. I think plants neutralize a lot of the um, negative energy as far as the 5G and all this Bluetooth and wireless things that are slowly frying our brains. Um, I like nature, and so that brings me comfort, right? I like soft lights. That brings me comfort. Candles brings me comfort. Smell goods brings me comfort. Um, Not having tons of furniture brings me comfort. So I just wanted to share that with you, that, and I'm going to label this as simplicity because it's all about simplicity. It's all about being intentional behind what you have. And for those of you who are in the space of transition, whether you're leaving a relationship or you're entering in a relationship, or you're maybe like, I would say having to leave something behind to embrace something new. I hope that this message finds you well and whole. And that's all I have to say because that's all I got time for, to be honest. I'm tired. I thought I'd get to my grad studies tonight. Grad school is cool. You know, I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. Um, I'm learning a lot. Every day. And people, will say, "Oh my gosh, I don't know how anyone could go to grad school and work full time." Luckily, what I'm going to grad school for and what I'm working in, they're like coinciding together. It's a beautiful symbiotic like relationship. It's not like I'm going to med school and working at, Target, right? It's like it literally is they both it's a wonderful opportunity that I'm taking advantage of in the best way possible, and I have no regrets. I've as a world traveler, as a I like to call myself a gypsy. I don't find gypsy a derogatory name, or as the Arabs say, the Bouadin or Boudouin. Boudouin are the Arabs, the nomadic tribes in North Africa. I've been called that actually, a spiritualist, um, a Sufi, practicing Sufi. Because I told her, I said, I just, anywhere can be my home, right? I have slept in a tiny house. I have slept in my van. I have slept in housemates several times in my life. I've lived on my own, rented apartments on my own. I moved in with my mom way years ago. Tried to live with my dad. I've lived in a household with five, no, three to four different generations. My grandparents, my uncle, my mom, and his kids, my siblings, my sister and her boyfriend, um, my mom's significant other. Like it was multiple people. Like I think 11 people in one house. Did it last very long? It did not. But I learned to be adaptable and flexible, and in my living quarters, living spaces, and yeah, it's been a ride, and I don't regret anything. My only hang up is with cohabitating and like romantic relationships. I don't think it's something that I vibe with at all. I don't, mm-mm, 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 just no. I learned that like I just need my own space. I need my own place. I need to have my sanctuary to go to when I don't have like my cup is empty, right? When your cup is empty, it's so easy to run to that person that you have that connection with and to expect them to fill your cup. And that's really, really easy to have that expectation when you're living with that person. Side by side, day after day, you're eating, breaking bread with them, entertaining with them, making love with them, like you're traveling with them, running errands with them, you're just doing everything together. I don't think that's healthy. And believe you me, I had that experience when I was much, much younger. Oh God, like 15 years ago, 16 years ago, 17 years ago. Just I just had that experience where you make someone your son and you block out all other stars. Okay, so yeah, I would say that's one where it would be very very difficult for me. Like, yeah, let's move in together. No, that's not my vibe. That's not my tribe. I'm one of those. I feel like I'm like one of those that would have a conventional, non-conventional partnership with someone where they would have to have their own space. I have my own space. And a lot of people are like, no, it's supposed to be this way. When you fall in love, you move in together, you promise you'll be together forever and always. You pop out 2.5 kids with a white picket fence and a 4 bedroom house with 2.5 bathroom. That's how it's supposed to go. And we all know that's not the case. That's not the real world. And it is what you make it. So, as a simpleton, May this message find you well and whole, and I hope you guys have a wonderful night. Remember to expand your consciousness, evolve your human being, and embrace supreme loving guidance. Okay? See ya.